Hello, all you YouTubers out there. I need to just a little bit. Yeah. Alrighty. Yes. Thanks for joining. It is Leadership Tuesday. Leadership Tuesday, where we talk all things related to anxiety and leadership. So, just want to take a few moments to let everybody hop on. And I like to say, welcome. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on what corner of the globe you are in today. Again, I'm Twanna Carter, your anxiety and career coach, and it is Leadership Tuesday, right? Okay, so I am actually live on YouTube as well as live on Facebook. So for you YouTubers out there. If you got a question, drop it in the comments. Even if you catch it if you catch a replay, drop me some questions in the comments or anything that you're concerned about, a question about. Just drop it in the comments, and I will follow up with your comment. Okay, and just waiting for let's see some folks to hop on really quick. So, for those of us in the Northeast, winter played a deja vu on us today because it was only 40 and it was cold. At least to me, it was cold. So I'm hoping that winter will let it go. Just let it go. Um, and it can really be spring. The cherry blossoms are blooming right now. And my goal is to, on my lunch break tomorrow, just to walk down and see the sights down there. It's really crowded on the weekends, and I really want to see the cherry blossoms. I don't want to be all caught up in that huge crowd of people, right? So, yeah, that is it. So, for those of you ladies who are in my Facebook group for anxiety, women with anxiety, called Rising Above Anxiety, because I am actually live and I'm on my business page, if you want to chat with me real time, ask me a question real time, head on over to my business page, Dr. Tawana Carter, professional and personal coaching, and I can chat with you live time, and everybody else will see your comments. But in the meantime, if you don't want to do that, that's fine too. You certainly can leave me comments or questions, and I will answer your questions as soon as I am off Facebook Live and I'm back in the group. Some days when I have my two screens set up, I can actually multitask and answer questions from my business page as well as my Facebook group. But today I've only got one computer set up, so I can't multitask today. But that's okay. You can ask me a question, and I do respond to everybody who leaves me a comment or asks a question. I respond to everybody. So I think we're just gonna give it a little bit more up. Yes, I was gonna say what happened there. I hope my video didn't freeze. I know for those of you on Facebook, I am broadcasting, so you probably won't catch the freeze because it'll buffer. But for those of you on YouTube, there might be a couple of stutterings there, but just hold on and I'll be right back as soon as, it works itself out. So, yes, so my question today, my teaser was, does your leadership position cause you anxiety? Okay, because it's Leadership Tuesday. Again, we discuss all things leadership and anxiety, all 12 up in there, right? Or do you feel like you didn't quite get enough training before becoming a manager? And that's a common enough thing. Oftentimes, especially if you are in the say nursing field, or you may be in the tech field, you may have been an attorney, and when they pull you up because you were such a stellar performer and you knocked it out of the park, you were great, you were a great employee, you were great doing your job, leaping, like I said, leaping over tall buildings and everything. And someone reached out and they tapped you and said, you know what? This is manager material right here. Yes, right. And so they got you, you did your applications or you did your interview and you passed, you made it. And so now you are a manager. And because you didn't get managerial training, you're like, oh God, help me. Help me, please. Somebody help me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Now, when I was a leader, mine was a little different. I actually trained, and I was in ROTC and trained to be a leader. But when I got to my first position, it was like all these people that I don't know, and they're all looking at me, and they're all depending on me to lead them. Having problems with this. Yeah, and when you do feel like you're not trained enough, or you feel like you're just not enough, it can actually cause you to sabotage yourself. That old self sabotage, right? In my case, I had some self sabotage sprinkled in. I had some perfectionism sprinkled in, and I had some procrastination sprinkled all over the place. Yeah, yeah, I got it. I completely understand this. So today, just wanted to drop a few motivational nuggets of what do you do when you just don't feel like you quite have enough training to be a leader, or your fear and your anxiety just keeps you so on edge. You're having, it's a challenge being a leader. First of all, I want to let you know you're not by yourself. You're not the first, you won't be the last. You could be in the middle of the pack and you're like, yeah, I get that, but what am I supposed to do? Okay. And so, one of the things that you can do is really take a deep breath, because at the end of the day, they chose you. And especially, for some of you, this may cause you some anxiety too. There were three or four of your peers who were up for that leadership job, but you were the only one to get it. Think about that for a moment. There were three or four qualified people, but after the interviewing process is done and the dust settled, you were the leader they chose. So there was something there, right? There was something there. And this panel of people, or your supervisor, I know I've been in interviews where there's like six people sitting around a table, but at any rate, they interviewed you and they chose you for the leadership position. You know what that means? You're qualified. You're enough. Because if you were not, they wouldn't have picked you over two or three or four other people, right? Someone else would have got the position and not you. So you really got to think about that. Sometimes take a deep breath, actually take 10 deep breaths or 2 minutes of deep breathing from the diaphragm, and then think, I went through an interview process. There could have been 10 people, there could have been 3 people, there could have been 4 people. And after they interview all those people, they chose me for the position. All these people can't be wrong. All of these people can't make a mistake. Oftentimes, the people sitting on your panel, they've been managers and leaders and directors sometimes for 10, 15, 20 years. So who's right and who's wrong? If you had a panel of, say, 4 people that interviewed you and they were in their position 5, 10, 15, let's say aggregately, like it was a total of 60 years, and 60 years of experience, they interviewed you and they still chose you above everybody else, were they lying to you and just want to make a fool out of you when they chose you as a leader? Absolutely not. They chose you because they saw the potential in you and they saw that you could do it. So now the person to convince that you can do it, you got it, is yourself. But start off by having this conversation with you. How many people interviewed for your position? And the people that did the interviewing, how many years of experience did they have interviewing people? Right? And I tell you something, I'm going to share something with you. When I decided I wanted, and I do have an office, I'm based actually in Bowie, Maryland. And while my practice, I do most of my coaching, like 100, almost 100% of my coaching online. I do have an office so that I can have a basis and have my mail go there and all that good stuff. Okay. And so I was referred to this gentleman for the office, and he's like, "Oh, he doesn't do leases. He I spoke to him. He's like, "Nope, I've been in this business 38 years. I've never done a lease, and I've never lost one dime where someone skipped out on the rent on me." And so it was impressive. I mean, it really was impressive, 38 years in the business of leasing. And he has a huge, it's a complex. It's never lost a dollar, doesn't do leases. Okay. And so what he does very well, though, and that's how this ties in, is I thought I was just going to meet him to talk about the terms of the office, how many days a week, what's the charge, square footage, per square footage, all that stuff, all the leasing type stuff. And I was not. He interviewed me, okay? He interviewed me almost as tough as what I've been through to get some jobs out there, okay? And it was a surprise because I was going in like all pleasant. And after a couple of questions, he's kind of zinged my way. I have to sit up straight like this guy's interviewed me. No, no, he was doing deep interview. Okay, you could tell he was an attorney for 30 something years, and but he interviewed me. When I say he interviewed me. I had to sit up and start thinking about the questions and pulling my answers together as if I was in a group of people interviewing for a job, right? And so the point of saying that is this: who interviewed you? Was it some fly by night person with like 2 months of experience? Or was it a group of people with 30, 20, 15, 10 years of experience of interviewing people and of leading? Because if you had that kind of star power interviewing you and they chose you for the position, you're qualified. You're qualified, right? You are. Because they wouldn't have chosen you over everybody. Yeah, that's a thought. Okay. Yesterday was Mindset Monday, right? This is a little mindset too, because you got to go and tell yourself it's if 10 people interview you, because it's for some of you, it was an interview process. You did the first interview, you passed that bar, then you had to do a second interview with a couple more people, then you passed that bar, and then you had to do that third interview, which is typically with one of the executives, in the C-suite that interview if you make it to the third interview. So that meant you jumped through three hurdles and you passed all the hurdles and they hired you. You're qualified for your position. You just have to understand that and start reframing it in that manner. You're qualified for that position because people with that much experience and they know how to interview people and could have been like, my my landlord grilled me. They could have grilled you, but you came through with flying colors because you have what they know that you have, and you have the prerequisites, you have the potential, and you can do it. But it's convincing yourself of that point. So anytime that you start to doubt whether or not you're the right person for the position and you start to self-sabotage, have that conversation with yourself. Who interviewed me? Especially if you went through 3 rounds of interview and they chose you, you're good. You're good. You just got to figure out here that you're good, right? You got to figure out right here that you're good because you are. You just got to figure that out, okay? And I just want to pop back over because I left my page and I can't tell if anybody has popped on to say hi. If you have and I don't see your apologies. Sometimes I start talking and it just gets good to me and I just lose fact of people coming on and making comments. I just get excited about this thing. I love what I do. And because my first, it was a little different in the military. It's different. I didn't interview for my first position. They looked at all the qualifications. They had an opening, and they did their little match. Okay, she's a second lieutenant. She's an engineer. There's an opening here. She's combat service support. Here you go. Here's your position. You're now leader in this position. And again, I spent 4 years training. I spent 4 years in ROTC. I had a 4-year all-TC scholarship. So I spent 4 years training, did the training well, distinguished military graduate, distinguished military student. I went through my awesome basic course. I was okay. But when I got to that first position, my social anxiety kicked in and it was a whole different ball game for me. And so what I like to tell people is my first mistake is the fact that I had social anxiety, which I didn't know at the time. And I'm also an introvert. So when I walked into 20 something people, I warm up to people. I was different then. Now I do a little better, and I perform when I find it necessary. But at the time, I had to warm up to people. I wasn't a jump in the mix and meet and greet and I know everybody's name. I'm not an introvert by any stretch of the imagination. Not an introvert. So for me, it was having to warm up to my direct reports basically one at a time. I'm a one at a time girl. I'm an introvert and I need to take my time and talk to you. I need to feel what I feel from you. I need to see what your energy is. That's just me. That's how I was. And the problem was is when you do that, when I did that, it was too long because there was 18, 20 something people I had to warm up to and do my one-on-one thing was too long a period because as a new leader you have a very short amount of time to put in place the things that you need to put in place to make that leadership position successful. Okay. And because I was so slow out of the gate, I literally dug a hole first. You know, I didn't walk in here and I can perform here. I walked in here with all the other second lieutenants and then dug myself a hole because I had to warm up to people. And it takes me time to warm up, and especially that many people all at once, all the personalities, all that different energy flowing. It was difficult for me being a leader. It really was. It's just that's why I'm in this space because nobody said, what's your leadership style? I know they talked about participatory and all that kind of stuff, directive and authority. Not that. For me, it was how do you learn people? See, no one ever had that conversation with me about how do you learn people. So when I walked in and I had 20 something people that reported to me, and a platoon sergeant with 15, 20 years of experience, it was like, oh, I gotta learn all these people. And I had to warm up. And it took time, but that was way too much time to be effective. You know, I dug myself a hole and I had to dig myself out of that hole, which I eventually did. But that's lost time digging out of the hole. That was all lost time because that should have been energy I had to excel, right? When I went in, I dug myself a hole. So the energy that I should have been excelling with, I was busy digging myself out of the hole. And so that's how I got to this position and why I also do a leadership program for people who are new managers or leaders coming in or who are fairly new or who actually want to apply for a position but kind of don't feel they have enough training or they haven't been trained and they have that fear of kind of like me walking in deer caught in headlights and what do I do first, what do I do next, what's the best way to do this, what's the best way to do that. So that's what I do. And I do have a leadership program. Ooh, mouse running across my I have my laptop sitting on my lap and my mouse just literally fell across my keyboard. So that sound that you heard was the mouse trying to run away. It's alive, it's alive. No, just kidding. So that's how I got to this space because after realizing how I approached my direct reports and how I approached my position, I realized I was digging too many holes first and having to work my way out of that hole. And sometimes by the time I worked my way out, I was back where I started and time to go somewhere else. So I don't want you to have to do that, and you don't have to do that. You can I'm telling you, you can use my experience, okay? If this is where you are, whether you are a new leader, whether you are afraid to apply for a position because you don't feel you've had enough training, or in some cases you've not had any training at all, you do a stellar job, you do a bang up job, you're really good at what you're doing, but you're ready to leap up to the managerial level, to a managerial role. Look, I do free coaching consultations. If you are ready to do a free coaching consultation, drop ready in the comments and I'll reach out to you and let's get you set up for a free coaching consultation. You don't have to start this out alone. And for those of you that are kind of in the position now, you're like, oh, help me, somebody, please help me. Or you're like, I think I want to call in on Monday morning because my anxiety is making me sick right now. If that's where you are, don't fear. Give me a call. Let's set up a free coaching consultation, and let's look at a step-by-step plan for how you need to go forward. Because really, when you're a new leader, you have about 90 or so days to get what you need to get in place and then excel from there. Don't do what I did. Don't dig yourself a hole so that now you got to dig yourself out of that hole. And that's just wasted time and energy to get back to where you started and then start excelling, right? Because anybody that want, if your direct reports, if they're on the team, they want to be successful, right? They want to be successful. They want to excel. And oftentimes they want you to excel because you all as a team go forward. And so you don't want to dig a hole. You want to start off where you are and start excelling right off. That's why I'm here, people. That's why I'm here. Use my expertise, all right? Got lots of things to share on that point. So, yes, if you're ready, you want a coaching consultation, drop ready in the comments. Either be the comments will be below. I'll get in contact with you, set up your coaching consultation. It's about an hour, and we can look at a step by step plan that moves you forward. Not digging holes like I did. Don't dig any holes. Okay. Excel. We don't want to dig holes. We want to excel. So that's my truth today about Leadership Tuesday, about being a leader. If you're in the position already, you have what it takes because you interviewed, they looked at your resume, they interviewed you, they looked at your work history, and they understand that you are right for the position and you're ready to go. It is just you that has to figure that out, right? It is you that has to stop sabotaging. But if you need some guidance and some help, reach out to me, drop ready in the comments. Let's set up a free coaching consultation and let's look at a step by step plan that moves you forward so you can kind of excel. If you've been in there for a little bit, and this is for some people, you might not be a new manager, but you're in a new position. You know what? Go ahead and call me up. Go ahead and drop right in the comments because we can talk as well. And I got some things that'll help you. It will establish confidence in yourself, right? It'll establish your leadership path, the leadership plan. How do you want to move forward? And then it will help you establish a plan for how you talk to, communicate with, and work with your direct reports. It can be done. You don't have to go it alone. Thanks everybody for watching and have a great Tuesday. And for those of you who are overseas and it's already Wednesday, have a great Wednesday. Take care.